Are we live? Hold on. All right. I think we're good. Welcome to a Moment of Bliss, a podcast series dedicated to photography and travel and how these passions intersect to help shape and nurture my physical, mental, and emotional spaces. Feels good to be back. I'm trying to do this a little bit more often. Sometimes I just want to spend more time traveling. Sometimes work gets in the way. I don't want to say in the way. It's not like work is a bad thing for me. I love what I do. I love my day job. So it's not a bad thing. It's just that sometimes work ramps up and gotta take care of that. But yeah, I'm back. I don't know. Like on YouTube, this is probably like episode 2. I don't know how many ones I actually recorded. I haven't even looked. In my podcast though, I'm moving up. I have a few episodes up on there already. I think it's like 9 total, including this one that'll be on like Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Um, but yeah, this is like maybe number 1 or no, number like 2 or 3. I'm sorry, on YouTube. But regardless, we're back. I'm recording. I have video. I have audio. Everybody gets their pick, right? So let's see. What do we have here today? So, of course, I'm going to do a photo of the day. And it feels good because if you're watching the video, I can just throw it up on screen and we can talk about the image. I think that's going to be really nice. It's going to be really cool. And if you're looking at the title of the episode, you already know that I'm diving into the idea of content creation as it relates to me, not as it relates to um, the overarching presence of it, and kind of just my take on how I want to approach that and how I kind of had to learn about it in a sense. Um, yeah, the ins and outs of why at this point I don't see it being something that I could pursue professionally. Um, Definitely something I want to do and enjoy in my spare time. And, when I have free time, I love creating. I think it's, one of the best things to do. But more so just how it's a bit difficult for me to consider it as something that I can pursue full time. And why. First thing up is the photo of the day. Um, as usual, I forgot I have to mention, per usual, I will include a link in the podcast description so that you all can see the images. It'll be up on the blog as well so that you have the ability to actually see it if you are listening or not watching a YouTube video, or, you can go to the website, blog.shotbybliss.com and see the episode, a little write up, and see some of the images that I'm going to talk about, especially the photo of the day, so you have an idea and can still, see what I'm talking about. But yeah, photo of the day. As I'm looking at it, it's a black and white image shot on T-Max 400, one of my favorite film stocks. And this one was interesting for me because, you know, it was kind of the moment where I started to tap into my spontaneous nature, or I started to feel more comfortable with it. And this one, maybe pulling off on the side of the highway or freeway or whatever it was may not have been the best idea, safety wise, and I don't recommend it. I'm not telling anyone to do that. But I couldn't pass this image up. It was, the last light of the day. The clouds were rolling in, and so it was the last bit of the day that I got to see, and to see it pierce through the darkness and just highlight the edge of where the clouds were starting to swallow it up, I thought was extremely, extremely beautiful. And so I saw it while I was driving, and I was just like, yeah, like, pull over, get this photo. Like, don't miss this shot. Like, just go for it. You're gonna regret it if you don't. And so I pulled over. I didn't get out the car. I kind of shot it from the window, and I kind of intentionally left a bit of like the car door or like the window frame. I don't know how to explain it, the frame of the door window. I love that in some of the shot as well, and I just really loved it. It's one of my favorite images I've taken so far. I think oftentimes it is some of these images that feel like a random moment, or feel mundane in the moment, that I really really love, and so I chose this one um, as my photo of the day. Like right after I captured it, it started raining, and I was just like, "There's no way! Like, there's no way!" Like it waited for me to capture the shot, and then the rain came, and it was time to go. I love when I can talk about an image and just articulate why it means a lot to me. Um, I'm not really good at sharing the process of capturing something, and I think that'll kind of lead into like the conversations that I want to have. I'm not I'm not really good at capturing the process of me creating something. Like my brain a lot of times doesn't think in that term, like, oh, let me set the camera up so I can get behind the scenes and let people see what I'm doing and how I'm capturing. Oftentimes I'm more focused on capture the image, create the piece and share it, and I've always been oriented that way. And so it's a bit different for me now, especially in the realm of like content creation, to remember to do that. And I think that's one of the things I'll dive into today. But to kind of help me with that, I think I enjoy talking about my photo of the day, because it gives me a chance to dive deeper on why the image means a lot to me, and why I wanted to capture it and things like that. And so it's kind of my way of starting to dive a little bit more into that, and talking about why I chose something, how I created something, and so just seeing where it goes from there. Let's take a moment and kind of, I know you all see the title of this episode. I honestly, I don't really know where to start with the topic, because this episode isn't about me disliking the idea of content creation. I know there's a lot of conversation about that, and that's not what this is. And I don't want to contribute to the idea that I dislike content creation, or that I don't see it as something viable. One thing I do want to stress is that content creators are some of the most consistent, hardworking people I've ever met. I have friends that are content creators. My siblings do content creation almost full time, and like I see their work ethic, and I see how hard they work and how much work they put into creating these things. And so by no means am I trying to downplay or anything like that. I'm just stating how it's a bit more difficult for me to consider doing something like that, um, full time. And so this is more so me trying to figure out where I fit in the equation, and I don't mean that in the sense that I have to be a content creator, right? But more so, how do I enjoy the process of creating this stuff for you all and sharing it without burning myself out? And the problem for me is that I I love creating in seasons, and not like typical seasons, fall, spring, winter, things like that. Not typical seasons, but rather I have periods where it feels incredibly amazing to create. And so I'll go and I'll shoot hundreds on hundreds of photos, and I'll start looking at what I can film and doing little video pieces, and I'm feeling super inspired. And then, there's a moment where it hits me and I'm just like, okay, it's time to rest. Like I'm done. Like I don't want to create anything right now. I want to work. I want to travel. Like, and in these seasons is where I realize content creation maybe something that I couldn't do full time because the number one rule to it is being consistent and putting out work and engaging. And there's moments for me where I'll just disappear. Like I'll just you know I'll maybe post in a story every now and then, but then I'm not really doing anything else as far as the pushing out work portion of content creation is concerned. And so I enjoy those kind of ebb and flows that I have. And sometimes it can be related to the stress of my everyday life, or I'm just going through something, and creation is not kind of what's on my mind right now. Like I'm not looking to create more work, and sometimes I just need periods of rest. And so with that, I find myself like feeling comfortable stepping away from putting stuff out and trying to engage and gaining new followers so I can share more work to more people, etc., etc. We know how it goes. We know how it goes. And so consistency, I found, as far as being a content creator full time and really pushing that consistency portion, is something that I struggle with, and I think I will continue to struggle with for a while, as I kind of figure out if it's something I ever want to do. I don't see myself having, and I'm just being totally honest, that level of consistency. I like having my spurts of inspiration, my spurts of like creative freedom, and in that realm, I mean, maybe there's some way that I could finesse it, and find out like, hey, maybe you create in batches, and then on those times where you don't feel like, making new stuff, you can post what you have grouped up. These are things that I think about. So, I have been trying to just, feel it out and see how I feel about it. But the other thing is that I don't follow trends well. And I say that because at the end of the day, I still just want to create photos for people. Like that's my passion. That's the thing I love. I love creating photographs. Right now it's so difficult for me to want to create for Instagram because of the way it's moving. And like I tried to give it a chance. I was creating reels. I'm still creating reels. I don't dislike that, but a lot of it is geared towards, can you put out what's currently trending? Can you use the music that's currently trending to expand your audience? Can you keep up with what we want you to post as it relates to keeping eyes on the application? And for me, I feel I feel like in doing that, sometimes I lose a bit of my creative freedom, so to speak, and so that's what makes it a little difficult for me. And I know that there's this kind of idea where if you can do that for just a little while and build your audience and grow, then you have the freedom to kind of step out into other realms and try other things. And I can't quite grasp that at the moment. I move wherever my heart and mind takes me, and so one day I may be shooting cityscapes and cool things like that, and another day I'm in the mountains and all I want to shoot is nature. And there may be a time where I just want to shoot video of every day, or work on how can I bring soundscapes into the things I make. So now I'm outside capturing noises and sounds and rain and all of this diegetic sound that I hear every day, and creating from that. And so it's not necessarily something that gets picked up as much, at least in my experience, and it makes it difficult for me, at least, to continue trying to push the idea of content creation for myself. And yeah, I think that's really where it gets tough for me. Another thing, as I'm looking at, I have a bit of a script here, not a script, but an outline of my thoughts as I was just sitting and typing and trying to figure out how to talk about this. And I'm looking back at it now, and I see that I mentioned that I did get drained, and there was one portion where I got drained from constantly trying to push stuff out. But I was like, no, push through. You have reels that are doing really well. They're getting hundreds of thousands of views. You haven't seen anything like that before. You got to push through. And in doing so, my work started to suffer a lot because, in the name of consistency and pushing stuff out, I stopped taking time to make sure I really liked it and it looked really good and it was quality work. It's like, how can I create this reel really quick so it can get some views, and then maybe I'll get a few followers from it, and we can keep pushing from there. And so now I'm taking 10-second random clips of something and then just throwing photos right after it. And you know one thing I've always loved about photography is that you should have the ability to sit there for a while and observe it and look at it and contemplate it, like, as a viewer, not even as the artist, but as a viewer. You should have that ability, because I think it allows you to kind of decide how you truly feel about an image. And so that pace changing to how many photos can you throw in a 15-second reel now means you don't have the opportunity to grasp what you're looking at. It's happening so fast. Like, what is it that pulled you in? Is it the colors, or is it the composition, the lighting? Is it the subject matter? Things like that, where when you're looking at an image, or other art forms like paintings or drawings, things like that, sculptures, when you can have that time with it and observe it and really, really think about it, I think that's powerful, as a viewer. And so I started noticing that I was losing that in creating these reels, because I was just, let me grab a few images, they all line up, and let me throw them in this reel. Let me get some trending audio, a nice song, and that's that. And we're gonna get some likes, we're gonna get some views, but do you know if anyone's actually having the chance to observe and view your work, and really get to think about it? And so that kind of burned me out, and it showed me, at least, like, me personally, I felt as though my work was suffering because of that. And that's when I really had to take a break and stop for a moment and really reconsider what I was doing. It was interesting looking back at that, because a lot of the photos that I threw in those reels, I never even posted up as singular photos so that people could have the time to look at them, because I was kind of in this realm that if I put it in a reel, it didn't need to be a post anymore. So now I'm not giving people the opportunity to have time to look at the images I'm creating. And that's where it kind of got me. I think that's where I realized, hey, maybe it will be a struggle for you. Maybe you look at this differently, and that's okay. And as I was looking, I saw that point, marked a few times, and I was like, okay, I do remember that. There's work I have, like the photo of the day, that to me personally, I can look back at it and say, wow, I really love this piece. Like, this is a beautiful piece to me. And I found that in my need to make sure I had photos to put on the reels, and video pieces, that I stopped being able to say that. Like, it got to a point where I'm just out with my camera, buying film, shooting whatever I see. Like, not really taking into account how much do I like it. I was just taking into account, will I have images to throw into a reel later, because I had started, accepting that people aren't going to look at it for long. So you can just feed it, and it'll be okay. And when I sat back to think about that, that's when I realized, like, whoa, maybe I am going in the wrong direction with this. Maybe that's not something that I want to do. And that was a game changer for me. That was when I really had to kind of sit back and say, well, is this actually something you can do at the moment? And I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, make sure it's something you love that you're putting out, and make sure it's something that you care about that you're creating, and others will see it. But the reality is that's not always true. That's not always true. And in my case, that's what was happening. I was putting out things I didn't really love, and the things that I put out that I did love still didn't shine through. And I know, like I said, it's a game of consistency and trying to put out work. And I was just realizing that maybe it wasn't something that I should be doing. Through all of this, I, like I said, had a realization that I needed to step back and analyze what I was creating and why I was creating it. And in doing that, I realized that my smaller interactions with people, if I post an image and it's in my story or it's in my post and someone takes the time to tell me why they love it and respond to me in a DM or something like that, just talking about the work, it means so much to me. And I know that can sound cliche, like, oh, if one person likes it, it's good. But the reality is, it really does make me feel good to see that. The posts and the reels that did really well originally were images that I did love. Um, but now that I'm starting to post like single images again and really curating the images I choose to show versus, force feeding them, for lack of a better word, in reels just feels a lot better, because when someone takes the time to respond and talk about the image with me, I know that people are having the opportunity to observe them and take them in more than they could have if it was just sitting in a reel. And that makes me feel really, really good. Those conversations help me reconcile with the idea that I don't do well as far as putting out consistent work. But putting out work that I know people can respond to feels a lot better. And it's also work that I know that I really love. And so if I'm going through my images and at this time I just don't have anything that truly speaks to me, because that's the reality of all of this. You can take hundreds and hundreds of photos and there may only be two that truly speak to you. And caring more about that again than if I can put out enough quickly feels really good. It's not to say that I won't do content creation. I mean, you're listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video right now. So clearly it's not that I don't want to. It's just that I'm learning to accept that I can take more time to put these things out. And I should be okay with that, because at the end of the day, it'll be something that I truly love. Something that I really appreciate that I was able to create, and something that I personally will feel is worth sharing. And I think the moral of all of this, like if I had to leave a message, is that I hope the other, artists and creators out there also have that opportunity to focus on creating something that they love. Like when they look back at their catalog and their bodies of work, is something that they truly love, that they created, as far as what they put out there, and it's something that they can look back and personally say they think was worth it. Because at the end of the day, at least for me, it makes me feel a lot better. Like it makes me feel really good knowing that when I look at my images and I look at the video and things like that I put out, I love it. Like I'm like, wow, yes, this is what I wanted to see. This is for me. A lot of the times. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I think that last sentence kind of brought it home for me, is that the things that I'm creating and the things that I'm sharing are things that are for me. And I hope that the people that are also viewing it can find something in it that's for them. But ultimately, I'm creating for me. Yeah, this episode, as you can see, was more so me just kind of going through it and, just sharing my feelings about content creation full time, the idea of being consistent, and how I'm adapting myself to be okay with that, to be, fine with the idea that I have to create when the season's right for me. And maybe then I'll find my place in all of it. If you made it this far, like I always say, thank you. Like, I'm sincerely appreciative of you all being here, listening to me. A lot of times these episodes are more like conversations with myself, just, my inner thoughts and reflections on things. And so having you all here, and for you all sticking around, it truly means the world to me. If you haven't already, you can check me out on Instagram, at Shop by Bliss. I'll put it on the screen. It'll be in the description. You can also check out my website if you want to see some more of my work, kind of free of other things. You can check me out, shopbybliss.com. Will also be in the description. You can check out other blog posts and other episodes on my other portion of the site, my blog area. I call it my journal. Thank you all so much. Like, truly, thank you all so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.